welcome back everyone for some more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. And we're going to continue on with the final day of the trial in the case against Chief Prosecutor Lorna Skye. In the last video, we found out some pretty interesting yet disturbing stuff, especially when it came to Emma's testimony, which I won't spoil that in case you guys didn't watch yesterday's video, but things are getting real juicy here, and I think we're finally starting to unravel what really happened 2 years ago in the SL9 incident. So hopefully you guys check that out if you haven't already done so already. By the way, hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday so far. So without further ado, let's continue on. February 25th, 12:06, District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interrupting anything else. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective running all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here, I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lorna's having you run errands again? Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth would talk about this just the other day. You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. You could at least study some evidence law. Really? Chief Prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book. Him. I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Evidence law securely slipped into pocket from Miss Skye explains the 2 rules of evidence law. Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is Chief Prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, Detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me? Mr. Edgeworth, the real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. And Miss Skye found out she unwittingly caused a man's death, and now you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal! You're missing the point, Detective. Lorna didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? And we're gonna expose him. No matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. This sounds like the DL6 incident all over again. February 25th, 12:52, District Court, Courtroom Number 9. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lorna Skye. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor? The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain? You think I may have You think I may have manipulated witnesses? I didn't say that! You see, everyone has been talking, and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. Hey there, Casey. A solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness. Mr. Wright, you do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls. Let's go ahead and save. The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. And who I'm gonna call is this guy. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. Alright, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand. This ought to be interesting. Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch! Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So, you want to play hardball, eh? But please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto! What's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh? Like what? Like the role you played in all this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has a right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony. Witness testimony, SL9 incident. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Oh, is that so? Is that when Dirk was arrested? Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. Dang, what a way to go. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dirk bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. Cross-examination, SL9 incident. As he recalls, he and Neil were questioning. They slipped up, power outage didn't help. When he went to his office, he found Lana there, and she had already arranged the crime scene, and she could see he had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that so?
Objection!
You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you can't back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example. That's a list Emma Sky drew a picture on. This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of the straw that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe. It was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Boy, I can't talk today. Chief Gant, what is the meaning of this? Oh! Here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then? That you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, Will. In light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding the piece of evidence found in your office. In relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Witness testimony. Evidence and forgery. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment? And a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dirk was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in the forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. Let's go ahead and save. You do understand I am Chief of Police, right? There will be consequences. Hey there, recorderometer. Oh. Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Alright, Edgy. In return, though. I know. That place, right? Huh? What are these guys, telepathic? Okay, let's cross-examine. Okay, could have planted them in the office. Can't prove when those pieces were discovered. They were found after he was convicted and they're worthless. No reason to participate in a forgery. It wouldn't help it anyway. Are you sure about that? Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you could reap from all this. Oh? I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would of course be the position you have. Chief of Police. Oh! The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Ho ho ho! Oh! That's a good one! Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes. He was going to be made chief anyway. Gah! Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. Oh, well, what happened to that? Oh, if somebody asked me for $50, I'd give them $50, or is that a bunch of hogwash? There, it's out in the open now. Udgy, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do. I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Nothing in it for you? Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Oh! 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 Oh, that's a good one, Worthy! Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Actually, I think there is. I'm pretty sure there is. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Well, it happens to be the person he was working with at the time, Lana Skye. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant. I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed Chief Prosecutor at the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all of this? He would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? What? What are you on, Judge? Oh, wait! You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as Chief Prosecutor so you can control her. Righto, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana. She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless, that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? I think the judge needs to take some smart pills or something. Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The Chief Prosecutor has been reacting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Just what do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in a law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? That's impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of law, is involved in this murder? Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe that evidence will tell. I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright got, and it better be good. Go ahead and save this. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we determined the owner of yesterday. 77777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 77777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Oh, he's getting mad now. Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was a violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit it? You went to the evidence room? On the day of the crime? What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. That's a lie. You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? This show's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This show's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Detective Goodman lost his ID card that occurred on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're gonna say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait! The Chief didn't necessarily mean to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him an ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! Okay, that's interesting. Excuse me. Chief Gant, you didn't! The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. Oh, wait a minute! How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. I think I figured it out. And I think it has to do with this. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is the screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ah! I was asked to go, by Chief Gant no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. Hey there, Naddick. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief? Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe... Your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we make it time for the early bird special. But, the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? This is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're gonna just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Ray. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Your Honor? Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body? Do I have any concrete proof? Just save here. To be honest with you, I don't think at this present time I don't have anything yet to really prove any evidence. It's no use showing evidence if I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor, at present I have no conclusive evidence. Humph. Siaji? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, IG, I'll leave the rest to you. What a scuzz bucket. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency. What?
Objection!
Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth. Another witness. In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. The Chief Gant has evoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth.
Take that!
The defendant. Miss Lana Sky? She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21st. Her task, to dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you'd gone to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Ah! This isn't good. Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet. I like how he openly threatens people like that in court. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. And I think that is where we're gonna call it here. As you can see, February 25th, 2:04 p.m. District Court Defendant Lobby number 2. We're just gonna go ahead and save here. And that's where we're gonna call it. And tomorrow's video, which will be at normal scheduled time at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow's episode will be the final episode of this case and also for this game. So, hope you guys are looking forward to that. It will probably be a long episode, just to let you guys know. This one actually wasn't all that long compared to the last one, but yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and save here, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to the final episode tomorrow, where we'll finally bring this case to its resolution. So, but thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and I'll see you guys again next time.